big question.
The big Q.
And what is...
It's not. I don't know if it's a big Q or a big review.
A big review, a big Q
review.
view. Is the new Harley Sportster S any good? Darren, have you been on the new Harley Sportster S to let us know if it's any good?
I haven't. No.
Have you not?
Ian, have you been on the Harley Sportster S?
I might have taken it out for a wee few moments of fun-filled frolicking.
Tell us all about it.
I may just do that. So our friends at Harley, West Coast Harley, as you probably know from listening to previous podcasts, along with Harley UK, threw a party. Well, a wee gathering to celebrate the coming of the new Sportster S. A wee reveal night.
It was a party. I got a free beer. It was a party.
Aye, exactly. And I was driving, so I didn't. We were in attendance and wanted to see a few of the bikes being unveiled. When we say a few of the bikes, the Sportster S are a few different colours.
Aye, but and variants.
Yeah, and what was nice is that they added lots of the kind of wee extra bits that you can get with it, the accessories, so you got a sense of all these kind of things. So when we headed in there was a collection of the previous iterations of the old Sportsters. So there was like a flat track XR 1200 through to the classic Iron 883, and it was just really nice. You know, they kind of curtained it off, so you walked in. It was also going to a wee Sportster museum, wasn't it?
Aye,
it was
that's exactly what it was like.
Yeah.
I tried to think what it was like, but that's exactly what it was like. And it was funny to see the different, I didn't say iterations.
Aye.
But it is iterations, but they're just different variants.
I know.
You know what I mean? You were like,
and if you want more information, the YouTube video that Harley have put out about the Sportster, some of which is filmed in Glasgow, watch carefully if you're from the West Coast. It's really nice. Nice to see Glasgow featured in that. So up and down outside your work as well.
It was, aye.
Kind of outside my work as well. As of next week.
New work.
So so it's quite cool. But they got into a wee bit of the history of Sportster. So things like 1957, the Sportster. Kind of come onto the scene. It was like something that Harley hadn't done before. It was really quite cool.
And they classed it an off-roader.
Because
there was no tarmac.
There was no tarmac in those days, but they entered it in for these like endurance competitions and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, which is cool. And I think one of the things that I didn't really realise at the time was it was designed around the engine.
Yep.
The engine was new at the time, and they took that engine and actually they put it into loads of different bikes.
Yep.
Including, I think they smashed the land speed record for a motorcycle using the Sportster engine at one point with this kind of long licorice torpedo looking type thing. Yeah.
Licorice torpedo.
You know these wee seats to be licorice torpedoes?
I know. But I knew
anyway.
I had just like visions of a giant torpedo made of licorice. I went the opposite way.
You see, it was either that or an enema, so I went with a licorice torpedo.
Family friendly.
Anyway, so once we got upstairs, there was a wee short presentation from Don Rutherford, the owner of West Coast Harley, and Dave Hackshaw, the managing director, explaining the key points of the bike and some of the thinking that has went into the design. And then it was time for the big reveal. But I think we were in the next day, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and you were speaking to David about it, weren't you? And you were basically saying that's the first time you've ever seen a PowerPoint presentation at Harley Davidson.
Aye. I was there. I've been there for a few launches, like the FXDR and stuff like that when they launched that, and at no point did we ever get a PowerPoint presentation.
But we did, yeah.
So
we did.
I don't know if that was Harley that thinking that, or whether that was something that Dave's brought to the band.
I don't know.
I am a fond lover of a good PowerPoint presentation, as long as it was meets the requirements.
Yeah, it was only a few slides. There's some nice interactive video stuff in it. Yeah, I'm not going to fault his PowerPoint skills.
No,
it was the right balance.
It was.
In office etiquette, it was the right balance.
It was, yes. Six slides, 6 points per slide.
But then it was time for the big reveal, and they did a big reveal. They had the sheets over them. They had bed sheets over the top.
I know.
With flashing lights, and they went whee.
Bed sheets. That would have been good. Thomas the Tank Engine. Peppa Pig ones or that one.
And then for the one with the extra accessories, Star Wars.
Aye.
Exactly. We're home, Chewie. So Chewie, we're home. So big reveal. They wheat it off, didn't they? The covers, that is, the bed sheets.
Aye.
And there it was, and we had 4 bikes covering the 3 colours: vivid black, midnight crimson, which is a kind of deep maroon, which actually is growing on me a wee bit since the more I've seen it, but not for me. I think it's from JB. I think if JB and I were to get matching Sportsters, he'd look good in the midnight crimson. Anyway, and lastly, and our favourite, although we went in thinking vivid black would be our favourite,
aye,
we went in and we saw the stone washed white pearl.
Aye.
which sounds like a pair of Levi jeans.
And the more you look at it, and then when we saw it in the following day in the daylight,
Aye.
it's beautiful,
Beautiful.
in the daylight.
And we're on video for this bit, so we will absolutely be putting some videos up and of the pictures of the bikes and a wee bit of video of being on the bike and everything. You'll get to see some of the cool features. So all 4 bikes on the show were different, and I don't mean just by colour. First was the base model. We'll cover that shortly, but the other 3 are some optional extras. So one attempted to show how different they can be. So like the outgoing Sportster, where there's lots of variations on it.
Oh.
So one model had screen and luggage. Well,
there's loads of mods you can take the Sportster, unless the Department of Transport tell you no.
damn you, Department of Transport, and your diplomacy and bureaucracy, we hate you.
Honesty.
Or if you anybody watches Ted Lasso and Roy Kent, it's just no. Anyway. So they had one with the screen and luggage. They had one with the screen engine bars, mid-place foot pegs, so you can change the foot pegs. And then the last variant had the pillion kit with the seat, the pegs, and a small sissy bar at the back and backrest. Yeah. So it was really nice to see them in different guises. You know, all essentially the same bike, but just the
with
extras
the wee
you can
tweaks.
get. You know,
Which on a brand new launch, actually having so many extras.
yeah.
Not only available and on the bike, but actually, showcasing them and kind of encouraging you.
Yeah,
listen,
to have a look at them.
and like the little screen is actually a nice little addition, and it would just push that wind just past you and stuff like that.
And what I liked about that is it's quick release. It clips on and clips off. It's a great.
Which again was like the Sportster.
Aye.
The Sportster, if you bought it by 1200, it had a 1200 low or whatever. It had a nice quick release one. So if you didn't want it, click
it off. Yeah.
and away it goes.
So go for it, Dan. Give us some stats.
Some stats.
Get your stats out for the boys.
Base model. So remember, it's a 1252cc Revolution Max T engine. Okay, so it's the same engine essentially that's in the Pan America, this new Revolution engine, but the T stands for torque. So they've tweaked it purely for torque.
And obviously taking that Pan American engine and taking it and putting it into the Sportster with different tweaking, clearly is the way they're, is why they were kind of focusing on that Sportster heritage
and they've got
this engine blocks the key to the new range.
Aye, and they've got a 975 coming as well.
Yeah.
So it's the same Revolution engine, they're just downsizing it to a 975. So you probably find that ends up in an iteration of the Sportster. That might be the Sportster, and the S is the 1250. So the new Revolution Max T version gives you 121 brake horsepower, slightly down on the Pan America. However, you get 125 newton meters of torque, so that's 92.2 foot-pound, if you're asking Ian.
Wasn't he? Because you've already written it down.
Well, aye.
But that's what the T stands for.
Torque. 228 kilograms wet, but it's deceptively light.
It actually is. I wouldn't have. When I was on that bike, it did not feel like that weight.
The amount of people that picked it up at the night event and actually had a sit on the ones that were out had picked it up and went, whoa, and it came right out of here rather than here, because they expected it to be like an old Sportster, and they threw it up and actually went too far and had to correct it again. And that just shows you that weight is because that engine's lowered down and it's not quite middle, it's slightly forward a wee bit.
Aye. That low centre of gravity.
That low centre of gravity is brilliant on it.
The stability when you're on it just feels great. It just feels great.
You can brag about that bit in a minute.
I will.
Brembo brakes, show suspension, forward pegs is standard, so the mids are on optional.
They were really pushing the higher quality of components.
Brembo brakes and show suspension, they're probably market leading. You know what I mean, with the exception of what Olin's. Single seat is standard, so it doesn't come with a pillion. If you want a pillion, that's a wee bit extra. Seat height of Ian's favourite, 753 millimetres.
Honestly, it was like I sat on it and just went, oh, hello.
Oh, flat feet.
I can see my knees with a bend in them.
Now, this was the bit that shocked me. Well, it didn't shock me at first, right? Because I'd read it and knew it, but when I saw it, I was like, ooh. Front tyre is a 17-inch 160 front tyre, and it is big.
It's a big
front tyre.
It's a big lump of black pudding spinning round in front of you.
Aye. The back tyre is 16-inch and it's 180 that's on the back. 13.3 fuel, 13.3 fuel, 13.3 litre fuel tank. Approximately they're saying 43 miles to the gallon, which kind of would be what the old Sportster was, roughly. Maybe a wee bit less, but again, you didn't have that engine in it, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the starting price for the base model is £13,995. So, after a good nose around and a sit on a couple, we went and actually had a little chat with Don Rutherford, who's the owner of West Coast Harley Davidson, as we said, who was telling us about obviously his experience at the kind of launch of the new Sportster S. And Don did say it's a great bike to ride and that the engine delivered incredible torque. He made a big point of telling us that it had tons of torque. Mm-hmm. And when you put it in sport mode, the actual delivery of that was utterly frightening. Now, I've known Don for a couple of years, and Don's biking history, for anyone that doesn't know, is Don is a very accomplished rider.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thankful when we went out on a run on the Thursday.
It was with David.
It was with David, and no Don. And I had no idea what Dave's riding ability was like, but I thought it can't be any worse than having to try and follow Don, because he can ride big time. Mm-hmm. And again, he's ridden for years, and he actually raced bikes years and years ago.
Yep.
So, but interesting. What was that? I just seen you point to the sky. It was
not working. Try to do my video, right?
We're having technical difficulties.
My wee thing stopped working.
And his camera's just sacked up.
Yeah. I got a horrible feeling I didn't actually press record. Maybe that's what it is on this video.
Well, we'll got that one there.
We'll get that one here. We'll get another video. We'll be fine. Let me just check if I press record or not by looking at what the last thing was. That was there. No, it's...
Can't get staff these days.
It seems to have...
Seems to have recorded?
Yeah. Maybe no.
Maybe I.
Anyway, well, it's not recording now. And then there'll be lots of video clips of the Sportster anyway.
Aye.
I'll thing it.
Anyway, let's go on to the following day, which was when the excitement happened, Ian.
Right. Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't help. Do you know what it is?
What's that?
It's my fault. Right? Call myself an accomplished videographer. Right? I have managed to...
Who called you that? I'll get them.
Me. I did. Did you get them? There we go. That's it. No, that would seem to be all. Right, it's recording again. We'll try again. Anyway, there we go.
Oh, yeah.
What can I say?
Again, we'll let all that out. Anyway, Ian.
Yes.
Tell the lovely listeners about the Thursday.
So, the following day, the Thursday, we returned for the actual demo day. Now, unfortunately, because we are lovely, good, wonderful human beings who don't want to be greedy, only one of us got out the bike. And basically, I think what it was Scott was thinking he's more likely to sell one to me than sell one to you. Right? And I don't blame him.
He kind of knew I wasn't going to buy one.
He knew, but he's got a funny feeling I might. And do you know what? I've got a funny feeling I might as well. So, and let me tell you why. Yep. So, the following day we returned, and I went out on it. The gorgeous Darren, however, did follow behind on one of the Pan Americas, and then halfway around, followed behind on the other Pan America. There you go.
Switched it.
Which we talked about a wee bit earlier on, just to give it a wee look at the different kind of feel of the adaptive height ride and all that stuff. Yep.
Yes.
So, we were only out for 35 minutes due to demand, but this is the verdict on the new Sportster as far as I can see. So looks and sound, right? We've gone over it before in terms of how it looks. You know,
aye. Again, and in the daylight,
it's a different bike again.
I honestly thought the black was it.
Aye.
There was no other option. Black was it. Black was the only one. Cinnamon. But those kind of chocolate
midnight
header
crimson,
covers,
midnight crimson and everything.
Honestly,
there we go.
Black's the one. Black's the one. Black's the one. Oh,
and
yeah, that's
you know.
So,
and as Scott was saying the next day, Harley Davidson clearly thought that everybody would think black's the one because that's the one. They've made loads of black ones first before any other colours. So, so it looks amazing, right? It looks a bigger bike than it feels. I think. So when you see a picture of it and you look at it, so I'll probably put up a picture of it with nobody sitting on it, and then you've got a picture of it with me sitting on it, and that'll just give you a sense. But actually, it's quite compact feeling once you're on it, as the Sportster was. It's not a huge...
Definitely, if you look at it, especially with the back profile, so the back to front profile, because that tank, I don't know if it bellows out slightly, it makes it, and then that kind of 180 back wheel looks bigger than a 180.
Yeah, it does. It looks a big chunky lump of rubber.
And you're looking at it from the back and going, whoa, that's a big bike. But actually, when you sit on it, it doesn't feel massive. So it's quite clever how they've done that.
Yeah, quite cool. So
sound wise, I don't really remember it.
I don't. It wasn't. It didn't blow me away with the engine turning on, but it did sound. It had a wee growl to it.
Aye.
But the growl wasn't a Harley growl as I expected it.
Aye, I think aftermarket pipe would be required if you wanted a serious growl.
Yeah, want to growl, but it wasn't an unpleasant sound. It just wasn't the epitome of a Harley sound.
The potato sound.
Yeah, the potato sound. But then it's a new engine, and the new engine and how it performs, we'll talk about that in a second, means that you couldn't really have a type of engine. You needed that more kind of. It just felt a bit more grown up, more efficient, more modern.
Aye.
But still had a kind of sense of it.
Because it's still a V-twin.
Still a V-twin,
it means it still has that kind of.
But it was a far more efficient sound than I was expecting.
And the pan's the same.
Yeah,
pan is the same. It's just that you're not buying it for that.
No, the weight, as we said earlier on, was surprisingly light for 221 kilos. It's got a really low centre of gravity, and for somebody who has taken a bike with a higher centre of gravity and felt the effects of how easy it is to tip it over.
What happened there?
No, it's not worth talking about. We keep that one quiet between ourselves. So I felt really, really confident and comfortable sitting on it and dealing with the weight. Now I have never ridden a bike with the forks, with the pedals,
with the forks at the front.
With the forks at the front.
Can't bike you, right?
That's a unicycle. Forks are at your bum. So penny farthing. So with the pegs sticking out at the front, and I was a bit and that was my kind of thing. Is this going to feel a bit weird? And it does feel a bit weird.
It's that kind of initially you go, oh wait a minute.
Yeah, and it's just finding the right flexibility in your ankle to change your gear and all that, because you're used to it being in a different position. Again, I enjoyed that. I'd quite like to take it out a bit longer, see how it feels a bit longer than just your 35 minutes if I'm still comfortable with that. Yep. I was fine with the gear changes and everything, so it wasn't a huge issue. But it may be something that they've obviously thought some people might not like, and they've got the ability to put
West Coast demos bikes due in, I think, this week or next week.
It's coming in on when I was speaking to Scott yesterday, Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. So he said, and it's booked out solid. Aye. And they're not. It's not just going. It's not going in and out. It's a couple of test rides a day.
Aye,
to give people a bit of fun about time.
They give you a good couple of hours on it.
So that's great. So, but one of the things we were told about when we went out, obviously the night before, we were talking about the sports mode. When we spoke to Scott, he said he put it in sports mode thinking he was I'm a experienced biker, I can do this, no problem. He said by the time he'd get out of the car park, he'd turn sports mode off.
I think his exact words when he went, not to that.
No, not to that. So I'll get used to the bike first.
And Don did say, sport mode's quite scary.
Aye.
I would encourage MD to get used to just rain and road mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you even think about putting it in sport mode.
And that was what Don was saying the night before. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, then I'll just keep it in rain or road mode. Just to first time on a bike, don't want to cause any major upsets. But we went out there, and the first thing Dave said was, get it in sports mode. It's at least at one point in the ride, put it in sports mode. You've got to put it in sports mode. So okay, we'll put it in sports mode. So we started it off in road mode.
Mommy's telling me no. Daddy's telling me to go ahead.
So started it off in road mode, and it still had a nice wee kick to it, a nice wee bit of power behind it, taking it out, but pretty smooth. There wasn't, kind of jumping forward or anything like that.
I can't add in at this point because I didn't get it.
You didn't ride it, of course you didn't.
Boo-hoo.
And reasonable torque, you could take up, you could, scoop through lanes, jump around cars and stuff, because we hit the motorway first, and we just scooted through a few of the cars, nice and, good acceleration, absolutely, and that was just in the road mode. The road mode was fun. It was fun.
Yep.
So that was all cool. Riding handling, it was. I loved it.
Again,
I loved it.
Can he comment?
Absolutely loved it. Yeah. That never having ridden in that seated position before, I wasn't sure if I would like that or not. But it's it's pretty nice to ride like that.
Obviously, I was at the back.
Yep.
And you were in front of me.
Yep.
And at no point did it look like it got. What's the word I'm looking for? A bit out of shape. Do you know what I mean?
Aye.
At no point did it look like it was under any great, pressure or any great stress. And we were, some of those bits of roads, we were fair shifting.
No, but when we were completely within speed limit.
No, we were still in speed limits, but we were still fairly shifting.
Yeah, of course.
But at no point did it ever look like you were fighting it or it was trying to fight you. Or
No, it was a very, very comfortable ride.
And it just looked like it just went round the corners quite happily.
It was lovely. And and as I say, cornering was great. Cornering was really nice. And we talked about being a bit worried about that big 17-inch wheel at the front.
That big 160 front
wheel.
wheel.
How's that going to handle it? But it was great.
What about a low speed? Because that was, I think, we talked about
we did, and I would say low speed. There's a couple of corners in the route we took where you're going round in first or second gear. You absolutely are, and you do need to give it a right good oof, a wee push with the handlebars to get it round. It's not going to
a wee extra,
just a wee extra
kick
grunt to get it round. But I considering how it feels for the other 95% of the ride, that's livable, more than livable with. And wouldn't put me off buying it at all, because it's not. It just needs.
How often
you just need to be a bit more aware of that, wee bit more effort.
And it's not that. How often really do you do U-turns and slaloms and figure of eights?
Absolutely, and you've passed your test, so you can put your foot down if you want.
Aye, and to be honest, right, when you're that low down, see sometimes actually pulling it forward and then kind of gain it that whole shuffle with your feet to move the bike back. Actually suits a Harley.
Aye, totally.
It's probably one of the only bikes, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I probably looked cooler doing it on a Harley, you know what I mean? Shuffling back.
Yeah,
and driving away. Then doing it on a BMW RT. You just look like you've got no control over it. You're like, that guy's going to drop it, he's going to drop it, he's going to drop it.
And then you don't drop it and everybody looks disappointed.
Aye. Whereas on a Harley, you go, check
that
guy.
Look at me, easy rider. So
Was that easy rider or easy rider?
No, either.
Brakes.
Braking was front brake was very responsive. Back brake was a wee bit, but that's probably more to do with took a wee bit more push to it. But I think that was more to just been my feet used to having the back brake where it is.
Aye. And how many miles were on that bike when you drove it?
I don't know actually. I never looked.
Because I'd imagine there wouldn't have been that many miles on it.
No, wouldn't have been too many on it. So it was just
whether it's
even bedded in properly.
Aye, I don't know.
But to me, that was more me not being used to riding in that position rather than the brake.
Having your feet.
Because a wee bit more of a push, it was fine. It was absolutely fine. And I could control going in bends and stuff with the back brake pretty well.
And it's one of the ones, if you bought that bike, you probably set it up. I mean, you probably
exactly.
a couple of adjustments.
I would definitely adjust the suspension at the back, definitely.
Aye.
There was a couple of times I hit a couple of bumps that were just pretty stiff, the back suspension stuff. But there's like 32 different positions.
That's what I was going to say. I think there's 31 individual settings just on the rear suspension.
Yeah, and I'd play with the customs road settings as well for that.
Oh, aye.
Because I'd probably pull something from a couple of the different ride modes and make more up. Absolutely.
And what's wrong with sport mode?
Sport mode's great, but you wouldn't use sport mode all the time. You absolutely wouldn't use sport mode all the time, because if you forget you're in sport mode and you take off for the lights, your bike's going one way and you're going the other way. Do you know what I mean? And your bum's bouncing along the back.
How good does my bike look? Is it
comforting straight away? Absolutely. So comfort wise, it was a very comfortable ride. Sit down.
Well, that I can't comment because I did sit on it.
Did sit. No issues when pulling up to lights, putting your feet down and anything. No wobbles. No, the centre of gravity is so low that the balance on the bike is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I was a bit concerned that with those two pipes up the one side rather than it being split down, that might feel a bit weird on one side of your leg. you know, and yeah.
Aye, but it's got a double. It's double
insulated,
shield,
and the ergonomics at that side are just don't make you realise you're actually got your legs over the pipes there. It's really nice. It's really
because
clever.
your legs are forward. I think if you go mid pegs,
you'd maybe notice
and
it
they're
a
not
bit
even
more.
like mid. They're still a wee touch forward.
They're kind
but
of halfway between mid and forward,
Aye.
aren't they? Aye. Customizability.
So
The one that I rode didn't have any accessories or anything on it. It was just the standards set up and the standard thing. But obviously we talked about going through the event and.
But I think customizability, just because I can say it,
customizability
I think there's twofold for me. Is one, there's the little clip on screen. But I say little clip on screen. It's actually a reasonable size clip on screen. Would take a lot of that kind of wind buffet and all that. But again, I always found on my Harley that wind buffet wasn't so much an issue because I'm lower down.
Aye, of course.
It doesn't feel as impacting. You still get it. So a little, you know, I mean, just to take it away. And then obviously the other kind of bits and bobs, luggage, chassis bar, all that kind of good stuff, right, it's fine. But the other thing about customizability is just the amount of different settings, because you're right, the 31 settings.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing was that and that's what I was going to say. They turned all that off on the bike, so you didn't even get a chance to play with that.
Aye, that's because it's the Harley bike.
It's the Harley bike. They don't want somebody to come on, sit in a Harley bike and go, oh, I'm just going to stick this and I'm going to change this and I'm going to do that. And Smash. Yeah, exactly. So they turned all that off anyway. So you only had the right settings, but those customizable settings, you can.
Aye, and I think that's the bit that you go. Actually, I could set this up perfectly for me. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Because there's nothing worse. I'm going to use the car analogy. There's nothing worse when I get in to drive my wife's car, and she's been in it, and then I move the seat, and it's move the seat to try and get it comfy, and then I only drive it that once, and then she gets in it and goes, "You've ruined my seat position." Aye. Whereas on that, you could literally make wee tweak after wee tweak after wee tweak till it was perfect for you.
Pick something like suspension and then ride it, tweak it, ride it, tweak it, and then pick power, ride it, tweak it, ride it, tweak it, ride it, and then you'll find that fit and you'll have that saved up as one of your. And there's two different customized functions.
Aye, two custom ones in it.
You know, value. It's kind of hard to put a value on it, I think, because it's the first of its kind. If you know what I mean.
Aye, it's definitely no as cheap as the original Sportster, but I think it's unfair to compare it to the original Sportster because the original Sportster had a couple of different engines and all that kind of stuff, and it'd been about for so long. I think it's when you then start to, I suppose this is competition. If you start to look at the competition, then that's maybe where you then go value wise. In some aspects, it's a little bit dearer. But in others, you mean it's actually a good bit cheaper. Yeah, I mean,
I know. I said all along I love the Triumph Speedmaster, right?
Yep.
And looking at the competition, that's a heavier bike with much lower power. And it's actually a lower seat height and everything, right?
But it's £1,500 cheaper.
But based on the stats that I'm looking at, I'm having never actually ridden a Triumph Speedmaster, but based on that, I would pick the Harley over the Triumph right now, based on that power.
Where's my? I don't have a button.
But based on that just now, right? Because
next thing you're going to say, you're like Kawasaki Versys. This is just not on.
Never. No, right. So,
welcome to the dark side.
I think looking at the level of the fun that you can have in that in different environments looks more than it would be on certain other bikes.
So let's just obviously
let's look at competition.
Let's look at the competition, right? Okay, so we've picked out a couple for competition, right, that are all kind of the same. So Indian FTR 1200 is a 1203, 125 brake, 120 newton meters of torque, 233 kilos wet, 780 millimeter seat height, 13 litre fuel tank, and it's 12,295.
Yeah.
Right. So again, power's about the same, torque's just a wee bit down. The weight's no a million miles away. Does hold a wee bit more fuel. But again, it's £1,400 £1,400 cheaper than what the Harley is. Again, it's maybe no the same body style and shape and stuff like that, but that's one of its closest competition.
Yeah,
there's no like
it's
for
trying to
like.
appeal to the same kind of
Exactly.
rider.
The Indian Scout Bobber, again, it's a lot less in terms of power and torque, where a 100 brake horsepower and only 98 newton meters of torque. But again, that engine size is down. It's only an 1133cc engine, which it's only. It's well over a litre.
I know, absolutely.
In that genre of bikes, you know what I mean, that's quite done. But it's significantly heavier. It's 259 kilograms wet. That's not a million miles away from my BMW RT, and that's got panniers and a top box on it. It's really low seat height. Fuel tank's roughly the same. It holds about an extra litre, and it's about £1,000 less. Okay,
and I'm actually going to say that's maybe too low a seat height for some people. I mean, that's like your bum's taking around. You know what I mean?
That's really low. Do you know what I mean?
I think you'd feel very vulnerable when that low down.
Aye. You'd almost feel like you're in a go-kart at that height.
I didn't at any point feel vulnerable when we were on that Sportster, sitting in the position I was in.
No.
You know?
No.
Absolutely not.
The Ducati Diavel. Now, whether you say the standard Diavel, which is a bit more street fighty, I'm thinking more the X Diavel, because that's the one with the kind of forward pegs and that stuff. Yeah. So X Diavel. Again, it's a 1260. It's got 162 brake horsepower, so it's up on the brake horsepower. But it's only got 4 extra newton meters of torque compared to the Harley. However, 21 kilos heavier than the Harley. Seat height slightly higher. It's 780. It's got a 17 litre tank. It's a big tank on it, which may explain the extra weight. But its starting price is 17,205 quid.
Aye, so
and that's just the starting price. Let's not even go into servicing and all that with Ducati. So for all it's in that kind of that bracket, I think it's way too expensive. You mean I would pick the Harley or the X Diavel every day of the week, and I'm a big fan of the Diavel. I do like the Diavel. And then obviously you touched on the Triumph Speedmaster. So it's a 1200cc engine, 77 brake horsepower, 106 newton meters of torque, and it's the heaviest out of these 5 at 263 kilos. That's heavy.
It's a lot. It's a lot of weight to shift around and to shuffle back on.
And it's 705 millimeters. So again, it's really low. Do you know what I mean? And again, I'm not mocking the Speedmaster, because the actual look of the Speedmaster I think is absolutely beautiful. It's such a nice bike, but I didn't realise it was that low and that heavy.
I know, but it's quite wide. I think probably it doesn't feel like it's quite a wide seat you're sitting in, so you're probably losing a few inches of your inside leg just by spreading them a bit.
Family's joke. Again, the Speedmaster comes in at 12.2, so I think it's the cheapest out of them all. Which again is
and that's your basic Speedmaster. But if you want, but as soon as you start adding some wee things and bits and bobs in it that you get and be standard with the Harley Sportster.
Well, aye, that's the thing.
You know what I mean?
And you're right. Those are just the basic kind of engine power, torque, seat height, weight, price.
I mean, even just looking at that Harley Sportster and its wee TFT screen and what you get in that,
which
you know,
I absolutely love.
Yes.
Right, because it's
started with a James Bond logo. It'd be perfect.
And had like a digital. Would you call it?
Old fashioned looking. Odometer.
But was TFT. But the fact that it looks like the original Speedo.
Aye.
I mean, it's about the same size and dimensions as the original Speedo on the Sportster. It keeps that kind of little nod to the past in there.
And
I like
the controls for it are really easy to use and quite intuitive on the handlebars.
How did you find the indicators?
That was a wee bit trickier and quite low down, and I've got wee thumbs, so
Pan America's the same.
Yeah, I found the Pan America indicators a pain in the backside, but I was also panicking I didn't drop it, so that was going to the head. So I found
which clearly worked.
I found when I was doing the indicators, I was having to kind of reach down and do them rather than just get my thumb to easily find them.
Aye.
You know what I mean? So that does take your concentration away a wee bit from the riding when you're going, where is that indicator? But they do have it auto turn off, which is brilliant.
Aye.
And that's a great, I mean, that's just the fact.
Because I wasn't sure whether they were going to put one on one side, one on the other for the indicators.
Aye.
Like they used to do on the Harleys, which would have been a nice little nod to traditional Harley. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I'm 6 2/3 about that. They have one on one side, one on the other, or they just had the one that does both.
Yeah, so it used to take out, takes longer than 35-minute ride to get used to. That's all.
Aye, it does need a longer ride, which we will get.
Which we will get, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, you will if you've expressed an interest in buying one.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's very true. I have expressed an interest. and I do genuinely right now see that as potentially my next bike. Honestly, that I was so taken by it. The riding position, the comfort, the speed, the power in it. I was really taken by that, and I just think it's the kind of bike I would love to. It would reignite my desire to go longer journeys on the bike.
Yeah.
Because it just feels a bit in it. You know, I would definitely add the screen. I would probably add the engine bars. Just
because you and Harley have a
just history. At the moment, yeah. I'd definitely add the screen. Probably add the engine bars. Like the wee bit of luggage you said with it. But I think there's other luggage.
I think I
would probably buy rather than, because it's a lot of money for what is a wee backpack thing.
Aye, the more
looks
that,
great. And
the more that
suits the shape of the bike and everything.
Aye, the more that bike hits the market and floods the market, I guarantee the more accessories and options and luggage options. Not just that Harley did, that others will do, because the Sportster was never you mean you could go into a car park and there was a Sportster ride out and there was 100 Sportster there, and I guarantee you
not one looks the same as
one looks the same, because they were so customizable. And I think Harley are desperate to hang on to that, because they make good money off of these accessories and fittings and all that kind of stuff.
Was it the white bike that we looked at, wasn't it? And the white bike, the white bike they had in the thing had the mid pegs, the engine bars, the pillion seat,
pillion pegs,
and the screen,
and the pegs were custom pegs.
Yeah, wilds, whatever it was.
So if anyone doesn't know what Harley usually do, a kind of range where you can get grips and pegs to match and that kind of stuff, and they usually get some kind of weird name like Dominator or all that kind of stuff.
Because remember
that's why the Harley parts manual's like that size.
Aye. Do you remember when Dave was talking about the Harley the bike at the presentation, and he took a phrase that obviously Harley have said, and he said if the big Harleys are the Tyrannosaurus Rex, then this is the apex predator, and you turned to me and went, Predator would have been a great name for that.
Predator would have been a great name for the Harley Predator.
Harley Predator would have been.
The only thing is, I thought about this afterwards, and I think Adidas have already got that copyrighted, because they make a football boot. I said football or soccer boot, which are called the Predators.
But if they called it the Sportster AP, which stood for Apex Predator,
I'd have just called it the Sportster Raptor.
Oh, Raptor would have been cool. I think probably Jurassic Park probably have taken that must that one though, you know.
Aye, I'd just called it.
But anyway, if they could have Predator, it would have been a great name. Yeah, for it. But that's a spin and Harley have made on it, but it was pretty cool in the sense of that. So they've got these accessories, but what did they come in at? That was like another 1,300, 1,400 quid or something on your bike.
Aye, well, it's Harley.
Just for the parts.
It's Harley.
That was just for the parts. That wasn't necessarily for fitting.
Aye.
You know, but I don't know if Harley do the same thing like Triumph do, where if you buy the accessories at the time you buy the bike, they waive the fitting fee.
Aye, if you were buying accessories at the time you buy the bike, because they still need to not assemble the bike, but they still need to put parts of it together when it comes in the box, and then they still need to with the PDI check it and all that kind of stuff, so they can do that fitting for you.
Well, they're doing
and again, it's how well you haggle the deal, and well, we all know what our little friends like at Harley, quite good that way.
Aye.
He'll know.
Yeah, and as you say, I mean, like we were talking about with Scott about Sam Hewn, who's got a Harley, and he got it fully customised with all his branding and everything on it. You know, he said it could, because they'll do anything for you if you ask them.
Aye,
you know,
they're really good
that way.
And in terms of like customized, last year they won the Battle of the Bikes, Harley's Battle of the Bikes, with their big ombre or whatever they called it, and it was like something else. It was like something you would see in.
Because Triumph, when Triumph were across the road, they did the whole bobber thing, didn't they? Made an Iron Brew bobber or something at one point, which is really cool. Loved that. But so it's they thrive in that as well.
Aye, the only thing I'll say that for me, I would like customised on that bike, obviously the screen. I would go with the screen.
Yep.
Just for the fact that you can put it on and off. If you're just nipping a city jaunt in and out the town or whatever, you wouldn't really need the screen, especially in the summer. But if you were out in the wet and you've got a longer ride, you can just clip it on and there you go. But the tail tidy, it's like it's like a tow bar. It's like an extra swing arm, that thing on the
Yeah,
back.
it's quite it's. I mean, I get what they're doing, and I quite like the look of it. But
I'm sure there's a.
But as you say, if you could get a slimline version of it, or to slim it in and not have it hanging off from the side arm.
And I'm sure they've got to be set a certain way to meet like Euro 4 or Euro 5 as it is now. It needs to be set out in a certain way when it leaves the factory. Once it's left the factory, they don't really care. Again, we go back to the Department of Transport. You know what I mean? It leaves the factory in one way. We're going to do stuff to it because, well, it's our bike, but but I think where that rear little fender thing is to stop the spray going up, you could literally put in an LED brake light in there, and I know Harley have done them because they've done them in the Fat Bob, and then you can get little bullet LED indicators, which are so small. I can't even tell you how small it is. Honestly, it's probably at the end of your stylus for your iPad.
Wow.
No, the pointy end, the blunt end. But they're
super bright.
But they're so bright, it's frightening. And that would just tidy up that whole back end. It would look tremendous. It would look more like an FXDR, which I loved the back of the FXDR, and it had a big 240 rear on it. And I think if you take all that junk away, put all the wee brake lights and LEDs up into that rear fender, that big back tyre would look even better.
And you're probably right, and eventually that kind of level of customization is going to come in.
Well, I think the guys at Harley are already having a look at it so that they can do it on their demonstrator just to showcase. Because let's be honest, you come in and ride their demonstrator and it's got the screen and the bars and all that on it, and they say, do you want the screen on it or do you want to take it off it? And they go, no, just leave it on, it's fine. And then they take it out and ride it and then come back and go, oh, I love it. And then they go, right, well, what one do you want? And then they go, well, I want that one. Well, we can't do that one because that's your demo. But you can get the screen, you can get thingy, and we can make up the bits on the back for you. It did make a wee bit extra out of it by customising it that way. So, I can see that coming.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so, the Sportster S, we'll pop, you'll have, by this point in the listening and watching, you'll have seen some videos. Hopefully, you'll maybe see.
Unless you listen to it first.
You might listen to it
and then watch it.
And watch it, yeah.
In which case,
in what case, if you've listened to it now, go back and watch it on YouTube, and you'll see some of the GoPro footage from my chest. From my chest.
From your chest.
And some of the Insta Go-To footage from my chin.
Just in front.
Because I used my boxer roof. My roof boxer helmet, and the boys at Harley were saying that's a great helmet because the vents for it are not on the chin; they're either side of the chin, so you can stick that.
You can put your camera mount
right on your chin. So I used that for the wee Go-To Insta360 Go-To, and I had that running. It's not the best of cameras to run in the sense of it only runs for a short. It only takes like 10-15 minute snippets and then turns off. So you've got to keep remembering to turn it back on, and it's it's great fun, but it's only got a 32 gig memory. It doesn't have a memory card. Aye. So you're limited. You would select that for moments in the bike rather than But it is easy. You just press it once and it turns on. It's easy to use, but
you had your GoPro and your chest.
I had my GoPro on my chest, so we've got a bit of both to show you off there as well, including Dave talking about his PowerPoint. We might keep that in, give you a wee bit of a wee highlight on his PowerPoint.
I was going to ask Dave, listen, can we have that PowerPoint just so we can share it with the masses? Because he clearly went to the effort to make the PowerPoint, and you know what I mean. I fully respect the man for doing that, and then showed it on multiple screens because there must have been about 150 folk there.
There was a lot of people,
which in the because we were up there in the cafe bit at West Coast, which is it's not the most spacious of areas because that's where the merch is and the cafe is.
Yep.
But they actually, when you stick 4 bikes in there, space totally goes.
Aye.
So they did well to get all the people in there
safely, and it was. You did feel safe,
Aye, he did. And to do all that and then showcase his lovely PowerPoint, I think he deserves a bit of credit for it.
I thought it was a great night and really well put together. Thank you, West Coast, for doing that. Really, it really did give us a real sense of the excitement of the bike, the excitement of the reveal, and it just made me more and more keen to be back on it the next day and having a go.
So conclusion
of what one?
I want one in white.
I want one in white with a screen. I think it's a bit more expensive than probably I would have been looking at my next bike.
Yep.
In the sense of that, but they've got some pretty decent PCP deals and things as well going on just now anyway, which was nice to be able to see that it's relatively affordable. They've made it relatively affordable for people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But So yeah, so I am honestly right now just working out how I can get it. That's where my conclusion is.
So if anybody's looking to buy a kidney,
yep, absolutely. Then I've got one going spare right now, and it's probably about, well, with accessories, I'm looking for about 15 grand for my kidney. Thanks so much. So, but
I'll take 13,995.
I'll take 13,995 and I'll save up for the accessories myself. The only thing is, I still love my wee Triumph, and I don't really want rid of my wee Triumph. But as Scott very, very honestly said to me when I was talking about it after the ride, he said, "I've got a funny feeling, Ian, that if you came home with a Harley Sportster and you still had that Triumph, then you wouldn't have a wife anymore." I mean, you're probably absolutely right there, Scott. So,
aye, and it's one of the ones I think, having been in that situation, right? Well, I've been fortunate enough to be in that situation where I've had two bikes sitting in the garage, right, that I could both ride, big bikes. You tend to find you gravitate to one more than the other.
Yeah.
And you tend to go, oh, I fancy taking that out today, and then you go, no, I'll just take that one back out, because that's you mean that's the one you're constantly going out and you're having the most fun in. Yeah, and there is odd times you will take the other one out, but it's just,
And I mean, I know we talked about the Street Cup and how they don't make it anymore, and it probably holds its value quite well.
And it's
yellow. You know what I mean? But I'd also look into how much it would cost to just respray the white to yellow
on the Harley. Oh my God, that would look mint,
wouldn't it? I'd seriously consider how much that would be. I'd have a word with Scott, see if there's anything they can do for you.
Aye, well, they know. Aye,
and they know people or a wrap or something, put a wrap on it or something. They've been just, who knows? There's possibilities there.
Like a wee M&M on the back fender, you mean?
Exactly, absolutely. So anyway, and that was all going great, and that's my conclusion, almost finished, until I took John up to Harley the other day, and we walked around, and of course they've got a black live wire sitting.
Oh, aye.
And John went, "Now that looks like a bat bike." And then I went, "Oh, John, what did you say that for? What did you say that for?"
Aye, and see how you're off next week. Mm-hmm. I think you should have a wee chat with Scott and see if you can get a live wire out if it's dry next week.
Yes,
because that might change your mind again.
Don't say these things. Anyway, so yes, that's it. So my conclusion is, right now, it's the most fun I've had in a bike for ages. The sport mode is brilliant, but used sparingly. It's like it's like salt and cooking. Use it, but use it sparingly. Use it at the right times in cooking.
Aye.
Don't just bung all your salt in at the end. Use it at the right times. A
little sprinkling here and a sprinkling there.
A lot of people like a lot of garlic, but use it garlic at the right time.
Oh, aye.
Aye, if you want a mild but garlic flavour, put your garlic in at the start and let it cook through. If you want a strong it, put it in at the end. Do you know what I mean?
And let folk chase away vampires.
Exactly. So if you want to overtake nice country roads in sport mode, use it then, but don't use it when you're trying to manoeuvre it back into the garage and you hit a wall. And, or the bike hits a wall and you hit the wall on the other side of the concourse.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
Or you're filtering the traffic in it.
Aye, exactly.
Sport mode's probably not the option.
No, there you go.
I don't really have a conclusion because, I haven't ridden it yet. So, but from what I've seen of it, I'm quite impressed with what they've done with that bike. You know what I mean? It is expensive. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they're still covering the cost of that brand new engine, and it is a brand new engine.
Yeah,
I mean, this is completely different from what they've done in the past. But I do think it's probably a worthy successor for.
And we didn't mention the fact that engine's in a beautiful bronze colour in those bikes.
Oh, aye, the black and bronze is just absolutely
amazing.
Stunning.
Yeah,
and the fact that matches then the Harley inside the what do you call it?
The strokes around the
inside the paint on the tank,
and it works with the white, and it works with the. They've picked a good colour to powder coat that engine with it.
The Midnight Crimson, I just don't warm to at all.
But it still works with that colour.
But it works with that colour.
Yeah. It wouldn't be my choice. You're right. I don't warm too much to the Midnight Crimson. No. That was the one I was riding.
Aye.
So but I didn't look around thinking, oh, this now looks amazing. I'm on the Midnight Crimson.
And it's not that. It's then the you'll see it on the video if you've watched it. If you're not, you'll see it when you do watch the video. But the actual fuel cap is that kind of bronzy as well. And actually, if you look at that, the way that the shape is on that, it's exactly the same shape is the charging point on the live wire.
Aye, I noticed that.
Did you notice
Yeah,
that?
I did notice that. Oh,
And I was
that's nice.
like, oh,
That is nice. Yeah, nice
so
touch.
it's a nice little. I mean, I don't know if they've taken that out or they just went, oh, let's kind of replicate it. And aye. So I think the other thing you've got to remember that a lot of people maybe don't know or forget about when you're buying a Harley is you're not just buying the bike. You're buying into that community.
Aye, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So obviously, if I get MD watching on Ian's face, you can see behind obviously is my cut from when I had my Harley. Which again, the guys for the club are desperate to take it off me, but they're not getting it. But you can see you get your Harley owners badges. You get one every year for every year you've owned it. You get your club badge, your chapter badge, and it's one of those things that the chapter can't function with the franchise, and the franchise can't function with the chapter. Yeah, it's one of those kind of stipulations. If you're having a Harley dealership, you need to have a chapter associated and stuff like that. And the amount of ride outs and all that kind of stuff. And again, we're going back to Han Solo, Han Groupie, but that whole thing, even if you don't do the ride outs, just the fact that you can associate. I mean, you can get
you
don't even need to have a cut. You can have a denim jacket or a Letterman jacket, and you can just get your Clyde Valley. I mean, they did all different types of badges, but you could have your chapter badge on there, or on the back or on the sleeve or whatever, and then folk know you're in the chapter, and and then folk are like, when you see them, and they're friendly enough when you go into a Harley dealership, especially at the West Coast one. But when the guys for the chapter see you, it's like, hey, how you doing? Both fist bumps and handshakes, and you're buying into
secret handshakes.
No, it's just a normal weekend handshake. But you're buying into that as well. You know what I mean? And then you're buying into like the coffee meetups on a Wednesday night and all this kind of stuff. So I like that.
It's a nice.
I do miss that about not having a Harley.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. That whole community thing, I do miss that. You know what I mean? Because I quite like that kind of social. Being able to have that social if I choose to have it. I may not necessarily do it every night, every single week, but
you've got
the options there for me. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, you obviously you can go in and buy a Harley and never have anything to do with it.
No, you don't have to. Do you know what I mean? When you buy a Harley,
if you're a Han Solo rather than a Han Groupie, do you know what I mean? But
when you buy a Harley, you become a member of the Harley Owners Group. That's by default. That's Harley Davidson that give you that. But then if you want to join the chapter, I think it's like £30 for the year. And then, you know what I mean, that's you're officially as part of the chapter. But you need to obviously have a Harley. You can't just rock up with a BMW RT. They frown upon that, apparently.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I can't think why.
I scorn.
You know, so, yeah, I am.
But
I get that, and I think it is a nice, you know, I mean, I suppose for people that don't know and they see like loads of people stoking about in big bikes with leathers on, a lot of people, not so much now, but probably 20 years ago, you'd have been like that, or hooligans, you know, the whole Hells Angels things and all that, do you know what I mean, and everything. And it always kind of, before meeting the guys in the chapter and all that, you know, from going to Harley and chatting and meeting the guys that you know and like Fitzy and all that, you always kind of would have thought, is it a bit, you know, dodgy or a bit, you know, do you know what I mean?
I wonder where he was going with that.
You know, does it feel kind of, you know, testosterone fueled, or, you know, or these kind of things, or does it feel like you're out there to cause trouble and you want to go down to Air Beach and, you know, noise up
beat up some ruffians,
you know, noise up the shell suit Bob and all that.
I don't think anyone ever sat in
know?
Harley said beat up ruffians.
I know, so exactly. Then you meet these guys and you think, no, they're just proud of this collective love that they have for these machines, and for the lifestyle that they have and the freedom that they have being on those machines. And I think it just flips it all round, and it's great.
And a lot of them have other bikes that are not necessarily Harleys. Yes. You know what I mean, but they have a Harley or keep a Harley because they enjoy that community, that I'm going to call it brotherhood, because there's so many women in the chapter as well. They've got the whole Ladies of Hog and all that kind of stuff, and they do their own tours as well as you've been meeting up with or riding with the rest of the chapter.
It's not this male dominated misogynistic thing that you just assume it would be until you meet and you see all the people
Aye.
hanging about. It's great.
Aye, it's good.
We've gone from the Sportster S to
I know.
chat thing, but
I'm thinking I'm adding that extra bit of value.
Yeah, absolutely. And
not that I'm trying to justify why they're charging $13.99.
No, but you're getting a lifestyle with that more than anything else. You're absolutely right.
Aye, you're getting
and for all I love my Triumphs, Triumph don't have that. The closest you get that is that.
I don't think
The closest you get is that distinguished gentleman type thing that a Triumph do every year, but that's just a support by a charity, and Triumph can pull away from that. And I know they've signed up for another 5 years or something like that, but they can, they could pull away from that at any point in time, and you've lost that sense of worth. And actually anybody can go in that distinguished gentleman, for instance.
And I know you don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that others don't have their, my wife's was in the Kawasaki club, because you become part of the Kawasaki club when you buy a Kawasaki, and you get your magazine and stuff like that, and then when the year runs out you need to renew it and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this is different. This is something localised to the local dealership, that you've bought out of. So if you bought and there's nothing to say that you couldn't go to Edinburgh Harley and buy a Harley, or Nottingham or Guildford and buy a Harley, and then you could still join the Clyde Valley, because that's your chapter, as long as you're a Harley owner and you've got your Harley Owners Group membership, which you would get buying a new bike anyway. You get it. So there's not. It's no.
And I presume you get that if you're buying second hand, as long as it's a Harley.
Yes. Aye, second hand. Aye, you would get your Harley Owners Group for the first 2 years. Can't remember. But aye, you get that, and then that allows you to then join the chapter, irrespective of where you bought the Harley. Which is, again, so it's no elitist, and it's no that you didn't buy out of our dealership, so you can't join our chapter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even at that, the dealership don't own the chapter. The chapters run completely separately.
But it's just it's a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly, symbiotic.
It's like that.
Well, that's us. We're done. We're done. We're done with that whole conversation, because there's no way I'm topping symbiotic.
Oh, thank you. There we go. So there, in conclusion, not only do you get an amazing new modern bike with loads of bells and whistles, you also get to form a symbiotic relationship with your local community.
Symbiotic.
There you go.
Such a good word.
It is such a good word. That could be the name of this podcast.
No, it's going to be Sportster S.
Oh, okay.
Just because I want to trigger an algorithm somewhere.
Sportster S, and then in brackets, S for symbiotic. Close brackets.
No, well, their tagline. What's their tagline for the
evolution to revolution?
Is it evolution to revolution?
Yeah, because it's the sports that evolve into the revolution engine.
So that's their strap line for the Sportster S, evolution to revolution.
So you're going to have to hashtag the hash out of that.
Aye, I'm going to be busy on social media this weekend.
Yeah, getting all that hashing and tagging.
Hashing and tagging. But yeah, so there you go. That was conclusion of. I'm not even going to push a button, because it's a kind of. It's not so much a big question. I think it's made a big review.
Yeah, big
this
review.
Week. I mean, is it any good? Yes.
Yes. Big review from somebody who isn't a motorcycle reviewer, just a biker that's had a go on
just an average biker.
Had a go on it.
Who could get his feet flat-footed.
And sticking out front so that the soles of his feet were wetter than the shins of his jeans in the rain. There you go.
That is the thing. Seeing the wet. Although if you get the engine guards, you could probably get the covers.
Do you know what though? I'm just going to throw something else in here though, right?
Yep. Hang on, we're not done.
We're not done yet, right? The one thing I did find interesting was that my jacket, it was the dirtiest, and the back of my helmet was the dirtiest I've ever been.
But I think
because of the spray.
But I think that's that stupid extra swing arm tail tidy thing.
Because and you don't really notice it, and then I took off the GoPro mount thing from my chest, and there was like black lines. It was like a tan mark. Do you know what I mean? But in the back of my waterproof jacket. Do you know what I mean? I was like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And in the back of do you want to go? Mama, going to go there?
No. Family show.
In the back of my helmet, I went there. It was also covered in a lot of spray, so the spray went up quite a bit from
Do you have a hole in your jeans?
No, that was the excitement. It was the spray up the front. So that was that's I suppose a thing I thought was a bit. I've never really experienced that amount of muck on the back like that on a ride like that. So it's not getting any better, is it?
Just not getting like.
Yeah, I'm just digging.
I'm digging a hole,
So and I was wondering if maybe they'll do an extended mudguard or something like that, or something that might stop that from happening.
But I think it's coming off of that tail tidy.
It would be interesting if when we take it out again, if depending on the weather, obviously. But if we get to take it out again, we can have a wee look at that if one of us is behind. Because I think if we can get one out, and maybe get out like a Fat Bob or something as well, just so we can.
No, live wire.
Live wire, yeah.
Because that's probably the only thing that seems torque to keep up with.
Aye. But we can maybe just get a wee eye on it and see what is causing that spray. It wouldn't stop me from getting a bike, don't get me wrong. Absolutely not. No. But but I think probably it's one of those things where you think about taking it in the rain and thinking, just be aware I'm putting a wee extra layer of waterproofing or something onto for that. Or even taking it out after the rain when the roads are still wet. Because that's where the spray's coming from.
Aye, and I do think it's that tail tidy. Do you know what I mean? I really do think it's that tail tidy thing. Unfortunately, see if I'd have followed you on my bike, the cameras were on and I still had the footage.
Aye, of course.
But obviously it was out in the Pan America, so I should have put my camera on and thingy that. Oh no, that's right, I don't have it. Listening, Tio, you've still got my hero.
Aye, right, Darren. There's Darren. There's Tio's shout out for the week.
Aye, Tio, your shout out for the week. Bring my GoPro back.
Aye.
Irene's probably sitting there going, "Oh my god!"
The whole.
Have you not taken that back yet?
The people in Texas now know that you've not given the GoPro back. Do you realise that, Tio?
You're Mud. Your name is new Mud in multiple different countries.
Mexico and Texas.
Texas.
If you go to Texas Guatemala, or Mexico, you ain't getting any Tex-Mex food for them because they know that you've got Darren's GoPro.
Charlie Berman listens to this show and he knows that you're hanging on to my GoPro.
There you go.
I don't think
and that sounds painful.
He's definitely not answering his DMs, so I'm going to mail him this week.
I give him a mail.
Also, while we were in there, believe it or not, and I know we're rabbling on here, right? Yep. But while we were in it at Harley on Thursday during the power cut, we've got to mention the power cut.
That's right. Yeah, because I was panicking. I got rocked up there, power cut and everything.
Power cut, and
I thought, it's not happening. It's not happening. Damn you, Scottish power.
No, but it did happen. They had a power cut. They were building. They're building the other side of Harley.
They did have the live wire out in the rolling road, and I thought, maybe we'll give me a wee shot and get a shot just on the rolling road, and then it was like power cut. That's not happening.
Well, it probably ran out of power and they couldn't charge it. But while we were there, we were also talking to the managing director of Harley UK.
Yes, aye,
Paul.
Aye, was it Paul? Was it Paul? I think it was. Nice guy.
He was actually surprisingly quite young.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite surprised that when he's how young he looked. He's either gifted with great genes or he's just genuinely that young. So
not sure if he was wearing jeans.
We know you were with a giant hole in the front. But he was a really nice guy. So again, if you're listening, big shout out. I think we've covered that to death. To be honest,
we have. Yes, we have.
Do you know what I mean? But it was really good. It wasn't even 2 days. It was kind of night time one day and then the following afternoon. So it was great and it was done really, really well. It really was. By the guys at West Coast. Absolutely slick launch. Big shout out to everybody at West Coast. Well done. And there be live videos before, during the event and all that, and because it gave you a sense if you were coming in later on that afternoon. So and I think I know Sean had brought it in the morning. That's the one, the bit of video I was watching. She went out in the morning, loved the bike, and and all that stuff. So again, she said sport bikes and stuff like that. So she's coming with a bit of pedigree. So and she come back and went, "Oh, it's got so much power," and I was like, "Oh, Don was right. Yeah, turn it off." But there you go. There we go. That's us. Brilliant. Episode 13. Lucky for some. That's it. Yeah. Unlucky for others. But lucky for us because we get to spend time together in the man cave. You and I. That is. I know what you meant. You're supposed to agree with me. I was just shocked that you're supposed to sit and go, of course that's the case. It was the fact that you looked longingly into my eyes when you said it made me nervous. To be fair, I was just looking at the reflection in your glasses at myself. Aye. So that's all good. Aye. Anyway, thank you for listening again, folks, to the ramblings of us average bikers this week and for supporting our episode every single time we put one out. It's amazing, and getting into 4 figures for the downloads, we just hopefully go from strength to strength. So thanks. If you fancy doing that whole thing, would tell 3 or 4 people that you know would be interested to listen, see if we can get our numbers up, and then we get to ride some really cool bikes and tell you about them. That would be awesome. Yeah, cool. Again, as long as you're lovely people out there, keep listening. We will continue to be here. Remember, these are just the opinions of a group of average bikers. Yeah, and again, I know we called them at the start of the show, but a big shout out to Graham, Del, Matt, even Tio,
Aye.
Who's still got my GoPro. Again, you guys contributing this week by chipping in and giving us some stuff to talk about, from dodgy paint colours and stuff, through to what I think is just going to ruin the biking industry. But yeah, massive shout out. I thought you were going to go like that there. I thought you were going to look at the camera and go, and I'd have been like, just cut. That's it. It's done. Cut. But yeah, again, if you enjoyed, he's still going. If you enjoyed what you've heard, then as Ian said, just like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, all the usual stuff. If you want to get in touch with us with any kind of question, shout out, something you want to hear our opinion on.
Still looking for funny colours.
Still looking for funny colours. So if you've got any funny colours, had any funny colours, or you can just even dream up a name of a funny colour that is at least rebroadcastable.
Yep. And a few more of our listeners may have had a go on the Sportster S when you're listening to this, so drop us a wee line, let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, desperate
let
to
us
know.
know. We
Desperate
really would,
to know
because
everybody else's thoughts.
If you're coming off a Yamaha R1 onto the Sportster S, that's going to be a different experience from coming off a Triumph Street Cup to that. So really keen to hear.
Or if you're jumping from an old Sportster to the new Sportster.
Yep. Oh, that'd be really interesting to hear about
interesting to hear.
Or maybe you've got a Kawasaki Versus and you've seen the light. Who knows? Do you know what I mean?
Yep. Or maybe you've got a Street Cup and you're looking at the Sportster S. Let me know what your opinion is.
Yeah.
Just so we can compare it to
my opinion. A Street Cup, Speed Twin, any of these ones, you're thinking, I'm going to go a bit more modern, a bit less retro. Let us know. Please do. It'd be really interesting to hear your thoughts on that.
And how do you get in contact with us? Well, you can email us at averagebikersinaCave@outlook.com, or get in touch with us on Facebook, at our Facebook page, or Instagram. And that's it. Until the next time, remember,
only a biker understands why a dog sticks his head out of a car window.